Hey everybody, welcome to the Chris and Dan Show. Glad to have you here with us. So, today's video, are we on the precipice of a major event or a black swan event? And I would say yes, we are. Doing a little reading on the French Revolution, and the French Revolution appears to, at least me, to be a fought over national debt and the ensuing inequalities in society. Um, Kind of similar to what's going on today here in America. So, while our politicians of today aren't as out of touch with the general populace, or maybe they are, depending on how you look at it, but they wouldn't say things like what Antoinette was purported to say, "Let them eat cake," when discussing with her parliament the situation with the general populace. And she paid for that dearly. But nonetheless, I do think our politicians of today are out of touch. I mean, even the mainstream media is making statements that we're in a great economy. Everybody's got plenty. And messing around with ChatGPT a little bit, I would say it's not quite that simple. Um, let me show you this graph here. Um, it shows that's not the graph. So this graph here shows the national debt. So if we look at it from 1990 to 2008, it's pretty linear. It's not an exact definition of linear, constant rate of change, but it would be pretty much a similar slope from 1990 if drawn a straight line. It would just, the line would be slightly above this part of the graph here. But 2008 onwards, it's absolutely exponential. And exponential, by definition, is a greater increase over passing of time, producing a steepening line, which I don't think anyone could argue that. It's been constant, and the exponentiality of it is increasing. This only goes up to 2023 at 33 trillion. We're now at 2024. The exact date today, October 27th, 2024. We're at almost 36 trillion. And so I asked ChatGPT, what's the average yearly income minus the average living cost of an American over the years, include the president at the time. So if we look here closely in 2000, there was an extra income in each American, or the average American, not each, the average American's pocket of $12,000. If we fast forward to 2024, while the year is not completed, we're at minus $5,000. So, and you can slowly take a look at this, pause the video if you'd like. So, I really think this leads us with this national debt. I think this is, if it's not exactly caused by, it's very correlated to the national debt. The national debt didn't go exponential until about 2008, and there's been a problem since, really, outside of Trump's presidency. And that was, nothing like it used to be in 2019. The average American had an extra 2,000. It was 12 grand back in 2019, had an extra 2,000, and in 2000, the average American had an extra 12,000. So, American household. So, yeah, I mean, things are not looking good, especially when it comes to the national debt. Politicians really have two options, right? They can either continue doing what they're doing, printing like mad, exponentially increasing the national debt, and in turn making it worse for the general populace. Or they can stop printing, they can increase taxes, they can take on austerity measures, and I think this would be that would cause a much greater depression than the 1930s depression. So either way, they're rocking a hard place, and no politician is going to do the latter there, because they'll never be voted into office if that's what they're proposing, and they'll be voted out of office if that's what they try to implement. So really, we're stuck on a one-way road of more printing, eventually hyperinflation, and this is going to look much worse. It's going to be minus tens of thousands probably eventually for the average American. Um, so yeah, I mean, this is how all wars are fought. Or I shouldn't say all. Almost all wars are fought over resources or money, essentially. Um, and i- internal wars, much more so. All civil wars, revolutionary wars are almost always fought over those two things. Um, I mean, if you take for example our American Revolution, no taxation without representation, money. Um, Civil War, taking a resource, slavery. Um, Also, that really is intertwined with money. So yeah, I mean, these things. And if you look at modern day civil wars, Africa's some country in Africa seems to always be under civil war or revolutionary war. Those are almost always fought over the inequalities of their society, lack of finances and resources and such. So, yeah, I don't think um, we're in a good situation here. So, I would like to throw out one other thing here, which I found kind of interesting, a little off topic, little tangent to this. But when I asked ChatGPT to look up this information yesterday, so that would have been October 26th, uh, I asked it a number of different ways and I kept getting the same numbers. So I felt this was pretty accurate. Did the same thing today, completely different numbers, completely different numbers. Couldn't even get it to close to what it's stating here. As a matter of fact, today the numbers that it was spitting out, um, every year the additional money in the average American's pocket has been increasing every year. I think it's up to 35,000 now. It's saying in 2024. The average American household has an extra $35,000, which is just it's just preposterous. It's just ridiculous. So I went and tried to find some news articles or something to help confirm. Uh, so according to Forbes, the average income in 2022, 59,428. Um, and according to ChatGPT, 2022, the average household income is 74,000, which is right here. If we look at the average monthly expenses in 2022 and 2021, I think it is. Yeah. So annually for a family of three, that's the average household. It's really 2.5 something, which is three. There's no 2.5 here. So it says the average um, annual expenses for a family of three in America is 86,000, and in family two, 76,000. Both of those are more than what ChatGPT is saying for 2022. I think, yeah. So 74,000. Forbes is saying it's higher than that. And then if you look at 2021, two is 69, three is 79. 69 is pretty close to what ChatGPT is saying it's 70. But a family of three, is ChatGPT didn't define what the average yearly household income is. What is that based on? The number of people in the household? It's either two or three, though, I would assume. Then if we look at the income, the average income in the United States 2022, what's this say? Real median household income, 74,000 in 2022, which is almost exactly the same here. So 74,000, this is 74,580. So that's pretty close. Then if we look here, AI says the average monthly expenses per household is 77,000 in 2023. So that's higher than here as well. So as you can see, the numbers are all over the place. I mean, it's hard to tell. It's probably intentional what's accurate and what isn't. I just found it very fascinating that I couldn't get ChatGPT to mimic the same numbers that it had stated from one day to the next. And like I said, I reran these numbers and questioned it a number of different ways, and it kept coming back with the same numbers. Yesterday, totally different numbers today. And it's funny too, these articles, when you ask like, or not ask, but when you read these articles, they will say a number of things that are very interesting about, for example, household expenses. They won't include, for average household expenses, they won't include your rent or mortgage, right? It just doesn't include it. So they're really playing with the numbers. In my mind, especially when I see stats of how most households are living paycheck to paycheck or making ends meet through using their credit cards, yeah, my guess would be ChatGPT here is pretty close. So yeah, if this comes to be and continues as it will, there's going to just be a continuous printing of money, which in turn will cause greater angst amongst the general populace, me included, because the inequalities will just increase. I mean, it's just as simple as that. And that's again why the French Revolution was fought. So time will tell, but I think this is definitely one of those potentials for a massive black swan event. Thank you for watching, everybody. Let me know if I'm missing something in the comments.